Soulful shit, you know what I'm saying? Like, just some social shit for everyone, you know what I'm saying? Like, I made this beat myself, so hear me. I mean, like, we can pull that clown shit away. There's some real shit for you. I'm spazzing right now, so listen, let's go. Yeah. It's in their bones, the thugs in harmony for the love of the money. Then fall victim for the cookie, then turn pussy, it's lonely. You said you hold it down when life get rough, we're here now, so show me. We move them losses to them wins. Heavy pounds, we make it ends meet. Converse with only few who make me feel like I be 10 feet.
What's happening, people? We're back with another Fringe Focus. Guys, please make sure you are smashing the like button, sharing and subscribing to the channel. Make sure as well, the playlist should be popping up somewhere on that side, I think. Yeah, somewhere over there. The playlist should pop up there. So make sure you guys head on over to the Fringe Focus and take a look at, some of the other players we have spoken about. Give your thoughts and your feelings in the comment section. I will do my best to make sure, and I usually do, to be honest, 9 times out of 10, I will get back to you. Even the haters too, man. Even the haters too. But yeah, obviously we're here talking about Tyler Morton. Another interesting player. Liverpool have a lot of these kind of fringe. I feel like we have too many at this present moment in time. We've got too many of these guys where you're like, yeah, maybe, yeah, if, yeah, this, that, and the other, are they good enough? There's a lot of questions, in regards to, a lot of these kind of players. So, yeah, today we're going to take a look at Tyler Morton. Obviously, last season, he was out on loan. He was out on loan at Hull City after, previously being at Blackburn Rovers. Played a fair amount of games, 41 games in all comps, 3 goals, 5 assists. These were his kind of positions that he kind of, took up last season. So obviously DM and central midfield. Do I think Tyler Morton is good enough? He might be ahead of other people. And I feel like that maybe just because we might be sleeping on we might be sleeping on someone like a Tyler Morton. I remember, him having that game against, AC Milan. I think you guys remember, it was in that yellow kit away at the San Siro. I mean, he played in that game. And obviously this is his pass map, from that game in itself. I think what I found funniest about this actually was all of his forward passes, they all failed. Well, give or take 4 of his forward passes, should I say. They failed. In fact, no, I think that was, maybe you got like one or 2 in there that you can say, yeah, kind of thing. But anyway, regardless of that, I think you can see this was a person who, in that game, I just remember him wanting to get on the ball because, of course, there was a lot of talk about him, even playing in that game, and it was like, oh, what, Tyler Morton? Like, is he really going to play? I think he also played away at against Spurs as well, and I remember that game was a baptism of fire, though. He was crap in that game, but yeah, he wasn't good in that game. I remember that thinking, yeah, she looks out of his depth. But then, of course, playing here, at the San Siro, I thought he did well. He did reasonably well in this game, from what I can remember. I'd have to go back and let me know in the comments. Maybe you remember that game a bit better. But yeah, I felt like he played calm in that game. But it was more about seeing him. Was he going to be out of his depth? That's more what I think I was looking for. Was whether you play good or bad, subjective, and and it's going to maybe depend on various different factors. But are you out of your depth though? Like, do you just look lost? Is that the reason why you play badly? Sometimes it might just be, certain things. I don't know if you're a striker, you just didn't score the goals, but you didn't really look out of depth. Everything else about you was okay. Sometimes you might misplace passes in the midfield area. Okay, that's cool. But do you just look out of depth? That's not what I thought. And again, you're coming up against players like Tonali and that, and who's an experienced international, player, and I didn't really get that type of vibe, if I'm being totally honest, with you when it came to Tyler Morton. So, yeah, I think he's been a player. Obviously, as I said, he's been out on loan, couple of seasons and stuff like that. This is obviously back when he was at Blackburn, 47 games that season. I'll take away 1 from the Premier League too, so 46 games for Blackburn. He got himself 4 goals. 4 assists in that season. He did play centre back a couple of times. I remember quite a lot of people kept talking about it. Oh my goodness, Tyler Morton's playing, as a centre back. Maybe because of his skill set. I would say, he's a decent passer of the ball. He's comfortable in possession. I will give him that as well. He's interesting, man. He's in, you know, like obviously I've heard there's been a bit of news and stuff like that that had come out is that RB Leipzig, you know, are keen to do a permanent deal for someone like Tyler Morton. I don't know, man. Maybe he might be he could potentially be a bit underrated, so to speak. Like, because obviously we talk about like Bajcetic, Gravenberch, and you know, all of these kind of guys. Maybe he might be a better option for Liverpool. Like if you had to keep anyway, in terms of maybe letting someone go, or you know, who's where in the pecking order and stuff like that, he might be someone. You know what? I'm gonna. It's crazy because I'm doing this, you know, whilst I'm even, you know, just as I'm filming this video, but it's like my brain is just going into overdrive, like thinking. I think, you know what? I wouldn't mind, yeah, seeing someone like Tyler Morton, like out, like especially because you know in this kind of slot, you know, in this slot system, obviously you can play DM, you can play, you know, central midfield. So obviously you've got your 6 and your 8 in terms of where he can obviously fit into it. We've seen him obviously this preseason. Again, not we haven't seen him for massive amounts, kind of thing. Maybe we might see potentially, you know, more. But depending on by the time that this video obviously comes out, we may see him, or you may have seen him against Manchester United. I mean, I know we've got Sevilla as well. So, you know, there's still, I guess, a couple of games in terms of how well he does or doesn't do, kind of thing. But you can see, like most of the team, and because we've got a lot of these new gen, kind of new age kind of players where their style of football that they want to play is basically like this style, not that runner man type of thing. Like, I think he may potentially be one of those players where you're like, don't sleep on him, you know, so to speak. I think I've heard even like Atalanta, Southampton, a couple other teams have potentially looked at him. This is obviously what he had to say on Arne Slot's style. If you don't love the style he plays, you shouldn't be a footballer, really. It's total football, and it's every midfielder's dream. And again, we heard obviously the talk about, you know, we heard Curtis Jones, sorry, you know, speaking about this same thing as well. You know, it seems like quite a lot of the players, they're really fond of this kind of football. Makes sense, to be honest with you, because as I said, it's not about the running. Obviously, the running is important. I don't want to say you just dismiss that, because that is going to be kind of important anyway. But that's not the main focus, so to speak. It is more about when you are on the ball, what are we doing? How are we building up? How are we playing? Where the players need to be? What's the movement like off the ball? Things that I felt that, you know, on the clock, it just wasn't really there. But now I guess, and I can only go by what the players who are playing it, you know, with the guy, I can only go by what they're saying. They seem to actually like, you know, this kind of style of football, you know, kind of thing. Obviously, what that means moving forward, I don't know. Do you get me? We might cook and never win anything. Who knows? You might be in Arsenal's position, you know, back in the days when they're popping the ball about. You remember the goal that Wilshere scored, and I've seen goals that like Giroud scored. Like the one touch football was mesmeric. But the man weren't winning nothing. Do you know what I mean? Again, we didn't really have the players. Do we have the players? That remains to kind of be seen. But just in regards to Tyler Morton himself, I think when I think about it, again, I go back to this kind of rotation that we had against Arsenal in that midfield. Could he not be potentially one of those players? You know what? I'm going to go on a limb. I'm going to say, obviously, I don't know what's going to happen with him in terms of whether we sell him or not. I think that will obviously depend on what Slot and how Slot kind of sees it. Are we going to sign somebody that will obviously push him, you know, like one place down, you know, the pecking order? So there are a lot of ifs and buts. But if I was thinking about it, I would place him above Bajcetic, because I think that in this kind of role, he would be a better fit. Now, you could potentially play Bajcetic next to him, like a Tyler Morton, Bajcetic kind of double pivot. Not first team, by the way, people. Them men are not good enough for all of that, and I don't want to see that. I'm talking cup games kind of thing. But of course, it depends, because as we see here, last season the guy played 41 games. The season before that, he played 46 games. Is he then going to want to then go to, okay, I'm going to play like 6, 10 at most? That's a massive drop, you know. That's a massive drop. And I don't feel like these guys will serve any benefit going down to like under 21 football. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So again, it just really depends on what he wants to do. As we said, as the rumor obviously is in terms of RB Leipzig, if they've got a place for him in the squad, then that's where you go. Obviously, he'll figure it out himself. You know, even the other clubs, a team like Southampton might be good for him as well. You know, if Liverpool were able to, you know, if Liverpool were able to like sort out maybe like a buyback clause or something like that, then maybe that might be something to potentially look at. He's an interesting one, because I originally started this video thinking, nah, just sell him. And that's kind of been like my mantra, you know, for quite a while when I think about Tyler Morton. But looking back at some of the old tapes, looking back at, you know, the highlights, his skill set, I feel like he might be one where people potentially, and myself included, where we might just be sleeping on the guy. Might just be sleeping on him, just thinking, yeah. And again, I don't know, because I don't know if, you know, he does move on. He could just potentially move on. Maybe Slot doesn't see him in that way. I don't really know. But when I think about it, I think to myself, wouldn't that be kind of what you would want in your, because he's, in my opinion, he's a better midfielder than a Bajcetic, in my personal opinion, in terms of as an all-round midfielder. I think where Bajcetic probably beats him is maybe like player evading players. I think, you know, Bajcetic can actually, you know, do that kind of specific thing. He does have that, you know, specific attribute, you know, about him that I think he might be better than Tyler Morton at. But I think Tyler Morton, for me, when I think about it in terms of why I would say he's better than Bajcetic, I probably say stuff. It's just really the little things of being a midfielder. I think, you know, football IQ, I think, is better. I think he's got a better passing range. Yeah, I think those two things, though, are the two things that I think about. And I'm like, yeah, those two things, for me anyway, when I'm looking at someone who plays in those kind of positions, someone who can obviously play potentially in the sixth position, I'm like, yeah, I needed to have that. I'm not saying, by the way, Bajcetic doesn't have football IQ. I just don't think it's as good as Tyler Morton. So yeah, I think he might be an underrated one. Let me know what you think, obviously, in the comment section. Let me know how you kind of see it. Obviously, this is his heat map from last season, so you can see the areas that he was covering, you know, for Hull City. I think, guys, you might remember the assist that he gave to Fabio Carvalho, you know, once he came to, you know, Hull City on loan. Really, really good ball. Set piece delivery, pretty decent as well. So he's obviously got that in his locker. The low socks. You know what I mean? I'm just trying to think, like, I'm not saying it's not a massive gap. I'm not sitting here saying, yeah, he's way better than thing. It's not. I don't think it's as obvious. And word to Ish, it might just be as simple as it's a discussion, so to speak. And maybe it would be best served to have the two of them, Bajcetic and Tyler Morton, playing together, you know, in that kind of double pivot position, as opposed to looking at it as either or, you know, kind of situation. So maybe I shouldn't really pit them against each other, you know, so to speak. But if I had to choose one, I'm gonna choose Tyler Morton. I'm gonna choose Tyler Morton. I think he's more in the mold of maybe of a DM that I would like to see, as opposed to a Bajcetic, you know, so to speak. I think Bajcetic would have been more in the mold of the way that Klopp wanted to play last season when he had McAllister in the six, which is, it's more about the running and the intensity, and, you know, in terms of off the ball in defensive transitions, like in terms of, you know, the ground you've got to cover, because you're going to kind of really be in there by yourself more often than not. Then yes, I want Bajcetic in there, because I feel like he'll be able to cover ground better than Tyler Morton. He's a lot more stronger, in my opinion, in terms of in his tackles. I think he's better at the 1v1 duels. So as a more cultured, I guess, defensive midfielder, in terms of, I don't want to say destroyer, but, you know, in that kind of mold anyway, then that's where you look at it. When I then want someone to just be on the ball, like I think what Klopp was trying to do with McAllister, not saying that Morton is better than McAllister, but just someone in there. I think he's better defensively though, but someone who's just, when he does get on the ball in those kind of areas, he's not necessarily going to panic. He's better on the ball. He's more comfortable with his dribbling, better passer of the ball, so he can get the team up the field if he needs be. Football IQ, I think, is just that little bit better, which then allows for him to get into the right positions in terms of, you know, receiving the ball from the goalkeeper, or from the defenders, or giving him, showing as an option to the other midfield players. So yeah. You know what? At first I thought I was going to sleep on, you know, and maybe I have been sleeping on Tyler Morton, but maybe you keep him in and around. Maybe you keep him in and around. Obviously, he might not look at that situation. As I said, he's played 80 odd games in the last 2 seasons. So he might not want to just be chilling, you know, just sitting on a bench and not really playing much games. And especially if the team starts doing well without you, you're definitely not going to realistically play that many games, you know, kind of thing. So, you know, it's going to be things for him to think about. Let me know, of course, what you think. What do you guys think in regards to, you know, someone like, you know, Tyler Morton? Does he stay? Does he go? Do you loan him out? Keep him in around? Like, let me know your thoughts in the comment section, people, and I'll catch you on the other side. Peace.